The jury is taking their time.
1 year ago, an Oklahoma County jury delivered a stunner. 6 weeks of testimony, 4 days of deliberations, and the jury came back with a split decision. 18 convictions, 18 acquittals.
The defendant is guilty of the crime of sexual battery.
While they may have been torn on the verdicts, their rendering of justice came at breakneck speed. 263 years behind bars for Daniel Holtzclaw.
Amen.
The sentence was a soapbox for civil rights leaders. Daniel Holtzclaw crumpled under the weight of all those years.
We were shocked, as you probably saw in the video, that we were not anticipating a guilty verdict at all.
Eric and Kamika Holtzclaw sat in that courtroom every single day. They've spent their life savings defending their only son.
He's my son. We love him. I wouldn't think twice to give my heart and soul to have him free. Money is money, but we have a family and we want him home.
He didn't do. Yeah. So we are still fighting. Every day fighting for him.
They are focused on his appeal now, and evidence they say was misrepresented in court to the members of the jury.
They were misdirected, they were misguided, misinformed by the prosecution.
Daniel's older sister Jenny is the outspoken advocate in the family.
We're obviously going to keep on fighting until Daniel does walk out of those doors.
She has spent the year poring over her brother's case, blogging and fundraising, and desperately searching for experts to bolster their grounds for appeal.
That's the only thing Daniel has ever wanted, is people to read for themselves, learn about this case. Because not only can it happen to a police officer, it can happen to anyone.
An Oklahoma City cop.
If a verdict is supposed to close the book on a case, this verdict had quite the opposite effect.
Nothing would stop her from her quest for justice by any means.
He just stopped the wrong woman tonight.
That 263-year sentence seemed to open the door to more questions and more coverage. Every few months, another storyline emerged on national news magazines.
But now a group of women who say that they had a very different reason to be afraid.
They say a menace wearing a badge.
And independent documentaries about the twists and turns in the case.
No forensic evidence supported Ligon's account, and her stories kept changing.
Today, as many of you know, is the 1-year anniversary of the verdict in Daniel's case.
We are in Enid, Oklahoma, on the anniversary of the verdict. It is Daniel Holtzclaw's hometown, and it's his 30th birthday. He is miles away, being held in secret, locked up in a prison out of state.
It's a great crowd. We already have. It's almost pretty much packed. I mean, we sold out, so.
Another TV crew is unveiling their take on his case. Conservative online journalist Michelle Malkin serves up a 2-part investigation detailing Daniel's innocence. That's right, despite the verdict and that sentence, she doesn't think he did it.
I opened my mind to this shocking possibility that no, he didn't do what he was accused of.
Malkin and a vocal minority have joined with the Holtzclaw family to fight for convicted rapist Daniel Holtzclaw.
We've had a lot of support from officers saying, you know, they threw him under the bus. It wasn't fair. The ones that worked with him knew Daniel and knew he wasn't that kind of guy.
Daniel Holtzclaw's supporters believe he got caught up in a national news cycle where anti-police sentiment silenced the facts of the case. And speaking of the facts of this case, the linchpin of the prosecution, that DNA evidence, the defense now believes may be key in his exoneration. Coming up after the break, new information about the DNA found inside Holtzclaw's pants.
They never tested for vaginal, semen, saliva, blood, nothing.
And more on Holtzclaw's victims in the months following the verdict.
They're still being attacked, online. They're being attacked as the deadline for his appeal starts to come.
Our story continues after the break. DNA, the microscopic smoking gun. Skin cells, in this case, containing a one-of-a-kind genetic code. Certainly the presence of biological material weighed heavily with the 12 jurors who convicted Daniel Holtzclaw. It was monumental for Oklahoma City Police Detective Kim Davis.
My goal was to find the female who matched the female DNA on his pants.
Prosecutor Galen Gigger told the jury the skin cell DNA was from the vaginal fluid of a 17-year-old victim and found inside the fly of Officer Holtzclaw's uniform pants.
At the area where his genitals are, following an assault that happened the day before his pants were taken from him.
Daniel's defense team now believes Gigger's statements about the DNA could be grounds for an appeal.
They never tested for vaginal fluid, so to falsify and say that it came from vaginal fluid without testing for it, you cannot state that information and that be a fact when you never once tested for vaginal fluid.
The fluid containing the skin cells is absorbed into the pants, and that's what we have. If Mr. Holtzclaw or his supporters are advocating that there is a test that determines that this is vaginal fluid, they are lying. There is no test that does that.
The family's also concerned about the mystery male DNA found on Holtzclaw's pants. It's not his. They believe it's evidence of touch DNA or transfer DNA, the theory that skin cells can easily move from person to person without a sexual assault.
A lot of people aren't familiar with touch DNA, but touch DNA, from you and I shaking hands, your DNA can simply be on my clothing. Does that mean you assaulted me? No, it doesn't. It's just simply your DNA is on me because we simply touched each other.
The male DNA inside Holtzclaw's pants was never identified and may play a role in his appeal.
If what they are trying to get people to believe, which is not accurate, is that it could transfer from a purse to hands to pants to inside of pants. Significantly, Daniel Holtzclaw's own DNA was not found on the inside of his uniform pants. I think that speaks probably louder than anything I could argue as to the ability of someone's skin cells from their hands to get transferred to a piece of fabric.
We are here! We are hurt! We are hurt! We are here! For the victims, this day 1 year ago was bittersweet. Remember, 8 of the women were vindicated with convictions, 5 accusers lost in court.
We're not okay with rape and sexual assault.
Grace Franklin works closely with those victims. She founded OKC Artists for Justice to be a voice for the women who stood up to tell their story in court.
Everybody is at various points. Some are not doing as well as others. Some are doing very well. You know, it's been a long road.
Franklin says many are still being attacked online by rabid supporters of Daniel Holtzclaw.
A year after, it's still not over. We're still, battling for the protection of the survivors. We have to start believing survivors, regardless of who is on the other side, regardless of who they are accusing. We have to believe them and go from there.
This case was a victory for those women, the exploited. They were heard by the detectives, by the jurors, by the court, and ultimately by the nation. Is it possible they all got it wrong? Or did the disgraced officer get what he deserved? The legal system has spoken. 1 year later, outside the courtroom, the debate rages on. Allie Meyer, Oklahoma's News Channel 4.